Hello and welcome back to the Perth to Paisley podcast, episode number 120. There's not been a game this week, and we were debating not doing the episode, but then we just thought, here's a prime opportunity to bring back a popular guest. But until then, we've got Adam to deal with as well. So, hi, Adam. How are you?
Hey mate, I'm all right. Yeah, it was nice to not have the weekend ruined by Heart of Midlothian. So yeah, how are you?
I'm all right. I was saying beforehand, I'm absolutely convinced I've got COVID. So, this could be an interesting podcast. I've not got any tests. They're arriving tomorrow. So, we'll find out tomorrow and see what actually happens. But as I said, we've got a guest, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll have seen who it is already as he fumbles about as ever, professional as ever. It is comedian extraordinaire, new Wimbledon fan, and dog owner as a personality. It's Richard Cobb. Richard, how are you?
Good, thanks. Do you mean like new Wimbledon as in like new club Wimbledon, or new as in I've recently become a new Wimbledon fan?
I think you've both of them. It works perfectly.
Good. Yeah. I missed the rest of what you're saying, but yeah, thanks. Did you say welcome? I don't know.
Yeah, I thought I'd extend a welcome.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Good to be here. Again, third time, something like that.
Yeah, you are now officially the most repetitive guest we've had.
Fuck me, that's a low for the podcast, isn't it?
Wow. Yep. Well, and on that, this expertly done intro, Richard's now been on a couple of times, and he's been very gracious to never plug anything apart from his Twitter, and I'm not allowing that to happen this time. So I've warned him about this. Richard is getting plug stuff because this summer in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, he's actually getting to do a proper fringe show, which is very exciting. It's called Couples Massage. It's based around
getting to do it. I'm getting to do it. Or
this is part of
letting him do it.
Yeah,
he's got a wee day out.
Yeah, exactly. No, a proper show that he has worked very hard to get the opportunity to perform to the paying masses. Is that better for you?
It's a bit much, but yeah.
Okay, right, fine. It's called Couples Massage. Please explain what's happening with it.
What the premise of the show?
Yeah, sure. That when do you know when it is yet?
Yeah, I did the form earlier. I kind of wish you had this info, right?
Yeah, it would have been helpful.
It is the 3rd to the 13th, and then I've got a day off. And then the 15th to the 21st. And I probably don't need to go through individual dates, do I? It's basically the whole of August. I've got 2 days off, so don't go on those days. It's at the, I don't know if I can reveal the venue yet. I've posted it. I don't, let's call it Hitty Haffy, right? And 7.25 every night. And it's pay what you want, but preferably the more expensive option.
That sounds good. So please, obviously, we'll plug it nearer the time. Please watch your Twitter so people know where to go and actually get all the information properly.
Should I explain? I mean, I would explain what it's about, but I don't really want to detract from this episode.
No, go for it. The entire premise is you being here.
The floor is yours. Bash on
for it.
All right, so it's about. It was on honeymoon last year, and that took a little bit of time to kind of remember when it was, like last year. And basically, I went for a couples massage, and I got distracted. So basically, the whole hour is essentially stuff that went through my head about. I think it was the same night that Hearts were playing Fiorentina away. So I went at halftime for this massage, and in my head, the whole time I kept thinking, we're definitely turning this around. Like, we're actually going to be winning at this point. But because I couldn't access my phone, then I just had to sort of create this illusion in my head. And then basically, like a string of consciousness, I just started thinking about like weird stuff, like that I'd called a teacher mum in primary school. And that was probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And then the fact that I'd like other more mortifying stuff that I'm not going to bore you with or ruin because it might not make the final cut of the show. Because at the moment, it's not that funny, but it might be funny by August. So
you've got time. It's fine.
Got time. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, please do follow Richard on Twitter, that Richard Cobb. Get yourself down to it. It's going to be really, really good.
What was my tagline?
Is your Twitter that Richard?
Did you say that at Richard Cobb or that Richard?
The Richard Cobb.
At the Richard Cobb. Right. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah.
We're fine. It's in the description. It's on the screen. This entire episode, if you're watching on YouTube, we're fine. We know what's happening.
But audio listeners, you're fucked.
Yes, basically. That's why you need to go to the
Yeah.
Richard Cobb.
Nice.
to
Nice.
See. So,
Audio listeners, he had a drag of the remains of his red wine while looking
yes.
disturbed that he'd chosen this podcast over the Wimbledon game over the road tonight.
Well, we all make mistakes sometimes. Anyway, we need to hear about your thoughts on the season so far, because the last time you joined us was during last season, where everything was just kind of good at all times. And if you've listened to this show, listeners, then you know that Adam and me have had disagreements about the levels of enjoyment this season. So, Richard, how have you felt it's been? Obviously, this is, I think, game week 26. At this point last season, you actually came on 3 weeks after this, and we were flying high, clearing third. We knew we were in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup, whereas now we're still clearing third, but by half the points, and we don't know if we're going to be in the semi-final of the Cup. So overall, how have you found the season so far?
I think the important thing to look at is we're 1 point worse off than we were
this
time last season, but other teams have got less shit. It's probably the best way to put that. I think I don't know. I think we've I was going to say ridden our luck, rode our luck. We've
Rode our luck.
Ridden, rode,
Yeah,
ridden. Definitely not ridden.
Maybe both work.
We've rode our rided. We've had luck.
We've rided our luck.
Yeah. And I think if you look back to what was it, the Motherwell game, not the one we got beaten, but the one, did we win that 3-2 or something?
The one at home.
Yeah.
Was it a penalty? 10 men for an hour.
So stuff like that, like that obviously went in our favour, and it was a little bit like, oh, we've actually, got away with one here. But then at the same point, like, you'll get a result like the other. What day? When did it happen?
The Sunday before last.
The week before last, yeah. And stuff like that will happen. Then you'll be a bit like, and then because there's a bit of a gap between the next game, then it'll just have time to kind of marinate and think like, well, this is a disaster. And then you'll see Celtic winning another trophy that they've already forgotten about, and then you'll suddenly panic and think like, oh god, we've got them twice in a couple of weeks. So I'm aware I've not really answered the how we're doing so far bit as opposed to looking at the future, but I'd say just like if folk are moaning, we could be a lot worse. Look at the state of Aberdeen. Like obviously they won at the weekend, but like what a disaster. And Dundee United are close to getting Craig Levein, so things are even worse over there for them. So.
I actually want to briefly touch on that, because just before we started recording, it was also confirmed that Ashgar's just left Dundee United as sporting director. So there's a chance that if Levein doesn't get the manager's job, Dundee United will approach him for the sporting director's job. Adam, I know you've made it very clear your thoughts on Levein's time at Hearts on this podcast before. There's been a lot of discourse around Levein, whether or not he would be a successful move, a sensible move, a fucking mental move. What do you make of Levein potentially going to Dundee United?
Wild. The last time that he was manager, he actually took over from, I think it was Craig Brewster, and they were bottom of the league as well. So he's got a track record in saving Dundee United. But this Dundee United won't have a transfer window, so he's got to work with the squad that's already in place. His last Premiership job was a disaster. He'd moved into the odds-on favourite to become the next Dundee United manager. Now I'm starting to wonder if, because Tony Ashgar stepped down, that he'll have that dual control just as he did back then and just as he did with us. And it might go swimmingly at the start, but it's only the start. And I think we only need to look at how it all unravelled in the end from a Hearts perspective. So it's an intriguing appointment. It's a patter appointment. And I don't know whether United are already preparing for life in the second tier with that appointment.
Potential appointment. Has it happened yet, or is it still
potential appointment?
Potential, yeah. We should say that. Imagine if it just, Neil
Lennon's second favourite. So I mean, it could be going swimmingly either way for those United fans. Apparently, so yeah.
God, imagine a double header. Neil Lennon in the dugout, Craig Levein.
Oh my God, Lennon working under Levein. That would be box office.
The image of Lennon under Levein is not something I want.
It's not a fun time. It's not a great time.
I want Lennon to get the Aberdeen job and then Levein to go in at Dundee United, because that would just be patter central. That would be glorious for our league.
2018 all over again. Focusing on Hearts and the positives, obviously, we have been waxing lyrical about Lawrence Shankland, Alex Cochrane. Recently, Adam actually suggested that Xander Clark was our best bit of business that we did in the summer. Snodgrass has been very popular. What have you made of the new signings? Obviously, I'm not actually aware what you thought of the potential of Lawrence Shankland. I know that you could now sit here and go, I always backed him because he's come in and done really well. But with Shankland, were you on board with the signing initially, or has he done better than you thought he would do?
Were you a McIver or were you me?
Yeah, basically.
A bit of both, actually. So, I mean, I was happy about it, but at the same time, if I look back, I was happy with like signing John Sutton, for example. You know, it was one of them that you're like, oh,
weren't we all?
We need a number 9 and stuff. I mean, none of this like Sean Clare up front giving the number 9. None of this Ben Woodburn, God rest his soul, giving the number 9.
I wondered how long it would take. I wondered. That's 30 minutes since we set the recording off. Oh God Almighty!
But I mean, like, yeah, no, I was happy about it, but I didn't think he'd do quite as well, like as he has done. But I mean, you could say, oh, he's scored lots of penalties and stuff, but you've still got to put it in the back of the net, haven't you? So it doesn't really mean anything. But yeah, no, I've been happy with that. I think there's a few kind of question marks over some of the signings, just some of the more kind of filler players, and I think January is not like the signings we've had from January. It's not really been the time to, like, it's just been a bit of choppy water to be putting them in. Like, amount of times that like the game will be on a knife edge and we'll see like Oda where there's retranslate at the side, and I'm like, what's he saying to him? Like, kind of like, yeah, it's going well. Like, you just need to, score 4 goals, maybe, mate, and stuff.
I feel so bad for Oda, especially because at least Garang has had time to, like, there's been times where Garang's come on and we're winning and doing well, and it's kind of like, go on yourself. Oda's only featured when, as you say, games are either on a knife edge and we need to hold on, or it's like, right, we're getting battered off Motherwell. We no players, go and you fix it. And I think he would have expected at least a slightly easier transition. But do you see enough from... I've seen people say that we should be focusing more on Garang because he's here short term, but then I've seen other people say that we should be focusing more on Oda because he's actually our player. What do you think there's anything that we can read into Oda's performances so far?
Bear in mind his only start was Livingston. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Well, I think at the same point, I almost see him as like the striking equivalent of Nielsen. You can, like, not Robbie Nielsen, but like Lewis Nielsen. You kind of think, yeah, like we only need them if it's absolutely necessary. And I think if we were still kind of, if Ginnelly hadn't been suspended or whatever for one of those games, and if Mackay wasn't absolute horseshit, then maybe we could, like, I've bled him in a bit better. When we're kind of doing a bit better there, but like it's. Yeah, I mean, putting him on expecting to turn a game, I think that's it's not really working. But at the same time, we're not really at a crisis situation yet. I think when you start looking at, for example, if we're 3-0 down to Celtic in the cup and then we put him on, I'm just like, just don't bother, Chuck Quall on because he's going out soon anyway. So like, let him deal with failure before he goes back to Newcastle.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, believe me, he'll be used to that very soon. In regards to the rest of this season, obviously we'll touch on the cup in a bit more depth in a minute, but generally I saw today Nielsen said that this month is the most important month of the season, considering we have
February.
Yeah, well, no, March. I keep forgetting what I was about to say. In fairness, he said this month, so take it up with Barry Anderson and Robbie Nielsen, the idiots.
Did you watch the presser? What month did the journalist ask about?
They just said, what do you make of the upcoming fixtures? And Nielsen went, this month is the most important month.
Right, so that sounds like March then, but I don't know.
He said
I didn't watch it.
Right, basically, he said this. And the point was, he picked out the fact that we've got St Johnstone, then a double header of Celtic in 2 competitions, then Aberdeen away, and then we only have 3 games, I think it is, until the split after that. You're saying there we're not in a crisis, which we absolutely aren't, especially when you compare it to other teams who should be doing as well as us or in and around us, and they definitely aren't. How do you see the rest of the season going? Obviously, you can't kind of work out injuries or general stuff like that, but if we keep roughly the same squad with apparently Liam Boyce and Benny Beningame both out running now. Peter Haring back in training.
Oh, don't say this, McIver.
Why? I have to
Because
factually state that they're back.
But we've been hearing that they'd be back for however long. I'll believe it when I see it.
But basically, we're getting. I think it's only Gary Mackay-Steven that is expected to not play again this season. There's hopes that Gordon's back
or
in the
next
gym.
season, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. GMS isn't playing for that.
Sorry, I was watching Richard just there and I could see the cogs turning.
Yeah, that's not happening again. But Gordon's inexplicably back in the gym doing everything that you wouldn't expect a man with a leg snapped in half to do. How do you feel the rest of the season's going to go?
Probably not as bad as the rest of this podcast.
Probably not. Probably not. We'd hope not. Otherwise, we're going to get relegated.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it'll be fine. I think the thing is, it's like you look at Hibs. Is that to me or Adam? Have you spoken yet?
It's to you. It's to you.
All right. Like, I think Hibs are in a bit of a false position at the moment. So I don't think, like, I could be completely wrong, but I sort of see, like, you can kind of tell in Lee Johnson's like press conferences and stuff. He's like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought this team could do. And I'm like, okay, very good. But like, he's kind of just like a little bit like a guy that's maybe say like somebody found 20 quid in the playground and they're like, is that yours? He's like, yeah, aye, that's definitely mine. You know, it's just that sort of like lying through his teeth. So I sort of think like a couple bad results and then they'll be kind of back on the fringes of top six. But for us, I think stuff like that will probably help us just because it's no team will kind of like, you know, that video I always put out every couple of months of like the hardest challenges for third place, and it's just the TV show when they're all sliding on the ice.
Yep.
I guess it's kind of like that again. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of changes apart from maybe the team that are sixth and seventh. I think the rest will kind of just sort of do what they're doing.
I think that's pretty fair. We'll move on to the cup draw. As
Adam, what do you think?
No, Adam has made it very clear his thoughts. Adam thinks we're a loss away from Nielsen getting sacked and a crisis happening.
No, that's a bit harsh.
The fact that that's only a bit harsh says it all.
No, I just think that it's a lot closer than folk think. But I think to counter Richard's point, he was talking about Hibs there, and he raises Hibs because it's a good point. They've got Livingston away at the weekend. They then play both the Old Firm. So if we beat St Johnstone on Saturday, say, and maybe go up to Aberdeen and actually win up there for once, then things are looking far rosier in the garden than perhaps even I thought.
Which is no very rosy by the last couple of weeks.
Because it's Hearts. We're always a defeat away from disaster as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's very apparent. And what that potential disaster could be is in the Scottish Cup, as just the day after we recorded the last episode.
That is a disaster.
Yeah, the quarter-final draw was made, and as soon as Hearts at home came out, I think every Hearts fan expected one half of the Old Firm to come out the other side. It was Celtic. We've managed to avoid Rangers. We just seem to always play Rangers now. So that's one positive. Adam, I'll come to you first. What was your reaction when you saw the draw?
Well, I was driving up to Glasgow, so I was listening to it on the radio. And I heard Hearts at home. And again, like you thought, oh, brilliant. At least we're at Tynecastle. What can come of this? Then I realised that both the Old Firm, I think, were still left in it. So as soon as they said Celtic, yeah, it was no real surprise to me. I tried to be as positive as I could. I thought if we are going to beat Celtic, our best chance is at Tynecastle. But then I thought to myself, if we're going to go on and win this competition, like everybody at the club is mouthing off about, like it's our third final in 4 years and all this shite, I thought we're going to have to beat Celtic and or Rangers, which isn't a stretch. It's just it's going to be very, very tricky in order to do so. But look, do I want to say that? I want to say that the winner of the quarter-final tie between Hearts and Celtic is in with a right good chance.
Yeah.
If it's Celtic, they probably will go on and win it. If it's us, I'm not saying that we'd then be favourites, but we'd definitely be second favourites only to Rangers as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, especially with the fact that Hibs and Aberdeen are already out. And the fact that it's like there's guaranteed to be at least one lower league team at Hampden.
Yeah, what is it? It was like Kelly and Inverness was one, and what was the other tie?
I can't even mind.
Kelly
Like
and Inverness.
No, Ayr on the
Yeah, Ayr at Falkirk. That's right.
Yeah, Ayr
yeah, so one of Ayr
Falkirk,
at Falkirk. Yeah.
So there's an opportunity there for anybody. Richard, all I remember of your reaction is that you were very derisory to me about my reaction. So what did you think of the draw?
Well, the important thing about that is that was before the Motherwell game. So
True, very true.
I think it's not ideal, but in my head, there's always this thing like maybe Celtic won't fully switch on until the semi-final or until Hampden essentially. So it's kind of one of them it could be a bit dodgy for them, but I mean they've just not really shown any signs of at least previous seasons. There's kind of been a bit of they're looking a bit dodgy, but they've just got so much a worrying amount of squad depth that the odds of their team pulling our hearts and against Motherwell and suddenly the whole team are just don't know how to kick a ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Celtic to be like that, it would be very unlikely. So yeah, I mean, like Adam said, I think the best chance we've got is at Tynecastle, but
it's not saying much, is it?
It's not. No, it's But at the same point, I can't be bothered going through the whole panto again of being on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and then fucking it up the second question from the end.
Yeah.
Again, I'd rather just be right, be done with it. And at least from that point of view, you could be left with a scenario of thinking, what if United get European football? Something like that. But I don't know. I think from that point of view as well, you've got to look at it. There's not that same fear from other teams. If it is going to be a Rangers and Celtic, it's rubbish. But at the same point, it's nothing's really changed. It's always if it means that third place gets the European group stage, then it's in our hands essentially. Whereas if you start kind of looking at potentially better teams and what they could do with the money, that's when you start to panic a little bit. But
that's what I've seen a lot of people say. The biggest positive of this is that it basically guarantees third place in the top flight, unless something mental does happen, like Ayr somehow win it, Falkirk somehow win it. It basically guarantees. So it means that even if we get knocked out, then it's right, we've got how many game weeks do we have after this one? In the league, is it 12?
I want to say there's 12 from now. Hold on a second.
Did they say something like 6 or something before the split?
I think so, yeah. And then there'll be another, yeah. So it's 11 or 12.
The St Johnstone game takes us to 27 played. So then we'll have 6 prior to the split and 11 in total.
Right. Okay, cool. So you basically are left with a situation going, right, you've got 30 to 36 points here and there that you need to go, right, can we get that? We'll get to third that way. I'll put you both on the spot now. I'll go to you first, Richard. Will we get third this season?
Can you just can you what's it? I say for the listeners, for me because I can't be asked to check it on my phone. How many points are we away from? Is it
there's currently
5 clear of
five?
Hibs,
Yeah,
what you're asking.
We're 5 points above everybody else.
Right, and have we got a game in hand over?
We've got a game in hand over St Mirren, but not Hibs.
Right, okay. I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly confident that it would take a colossal Heart of Midlothian-esque collapse for it to not happen. But no, I think we've got enough professionals in the team that that's not going to happen. I think there's enough there. I think for even behind the scenes, if you think of Craig Gordon's not playing, but he'll be kicking shins behind the scenes about that to get over the line. But
I think that's a good point, actually. I never even really thought of that, about it's annoying not having Gordon, Boyce and stuff like that, but they are still big characters in the dressing room who won't allow any forms of complacency. I think
you just need to go back to the attitude of beat that week that we beat Hibs, or the 10 days, whenever it was that we beat Hibs in January twice. That was the complete optimum mentality of just we need to win this, and that's kind of what we need to do. And it's what is 2 months or something that they need to do it for. So it's not like they've got a whole season ahead. It's not much time, so it should be all right.
Adam, do you agree, or are you thinking it's a complete calamity already?
No, I think Listen, we should. If we don't, then I think question marks need to be asked because of the advantage that we'd seemingly built for ourselves and have somehow pissed away. I think, look, we need to take advantage of Hibs' next 3 fixtures for me. I think they're only really the ones that seem to be mounting a challenge. I thought Livingston were gonna, but they've had a little dip. All these teams do, like St Mirren have even, because they just can't play away from Paisley. So, yeah, I don't see why not, but I think for me, it has to start with getting back to winning ways against St Johnstone on Saturday, without a doubt.
I think that's very fair. And that's a perfect segue because I'm just looking now at St Johnstone's form. And St Johnstone, in the last 10 games, have only beaten the bottom 3 teams. It's the only 3 teams. And then you go back to it, and then inexplicably, Rangers. But that's just the way this league works. So they are coming off a big confidence-boosting win against Dundee United and a draw against St Mirren. Yeah, they won out 10 men for that. Adam, how do you feel this weekend's going to go? Because obviously we've actually been quite good against St Johnstone this season, which is a rarity. Normally we slip up against them at some point. Do you think that could be this weekend?
No. I think the fact that we've had an extra week to prepare, St Johnstone were 1-0 up with that 10 men and couldn't see it out for an extra 5 minutes, courtesy of an Alex Gogic equaliser. I think we will bounce back accordingly, to be honest. I think it's gone... What, have both games been 3-2? Is that right? 3-2 at Tiny and 3-2 at McDiarmid Park. Yeah, so there's been far too many goals in the games for my liking. I would take a bog standard 1/2-0. I think that's what it will be. I think we've had a week extra to prepare. They've had an extra fixture in that time. It's whether Robbie Neilson will stick with the same players that are off the boil recently that will have me concerned come 2 o'clock on Saturday when I see that team's out.
That's what I was going to ask you, Richard. If you were Neilson, would you go, right, we allow basically the same team that played against Motherwell to play again to kind of make up for it? Or I could tell by your shaking of your head, you'd make changes. What changes would you make?
I think... Who started on the Motherwell game?
The big omission was Gino because he was suspended.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
And
so that's, I was going to say that, but I wasn't confident.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah,
you should have gone for it, mate. Trust
he
yourself.
goes back in, but I think you're kind of... Humphreys was pish, was he not? Was he quite pish?
Really
I mean, they're all pretty pish, but he was...
Humphreys did
he's
nothing.
the one that you kind of... You what?
Humphreys did absolutely nothing against Motherwell, yeah.
No, he's probably too busy with his lad Bible interviews after that halfway line goal.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I think he comes back in. But then the question is do we want Qual starting or anything? But then the problem is that he's on the right, isn't he? So it's kind of basically, can someone just come? Can we bring Ewan Henderson in for Mackay? Anyone? Halliday?
Oh, Halliday's back. That's another aspect.
I don't want to be one of these people that just jumps on the Mackay bandwagon, but it is it's very a crisis of confidence. And I think you just need to look at when he came off the bench. Was it against St Johnstone? I can't remember. When he scored that goal, when he was
right.
And that's you almost need that kind of kick up the arse, and I think that's what he needs. Because it's still on his day, yeah, he'd still be a top performer, but you get there's too much rotation of the rest of it, and that's a key element that's not getting us a lot of joy on that side. So. What was the rest of the question?
I was actually going to ask you, is this the game that you would potentially start Oda in? Because he can play on the left-hand side.
No.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair play. We'll go with Ewan Henderson.
On what evidence? I think because it's a must-win game, again, we're going down the path of this could be potentially tricky for him. Let's chuck him in.
Let's go for it.
Can't even play Ewan Henderson because he's out on loan at Queen's Park. So we are going to have to go for an Alan Forrest or somebody.
I forgot about him as well.
True.
That's who I thought of. And just, I don't know, Forrest and Ginelli either side.
But when Ginelli's
am I
been
confident
playing,
in either of them playing on the left? Not particularly.
When Ginelli's been playing, Nielsen's played him through the middle with Shankland and one other kind of in behind. So you could have Ginelli through the middle and then Shankland and Forrest, Kuyol, one of them in that weird bit. I can tell by your face, Richard, you don't like this thing of Gino and Shankland being in a weird situation.
Another issue is it's almost like the Boyce effect of when, remember, we weren't using Boyce to his best position, and it was just really frustrating, like seeing him trying to almost like pick it up on the spot, like just like, oh yeah, we'll play him out wide, but then it's like, well, who's playing in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really annoying. And I feel like when we push Shanklin back a lot, it just does, like, it's annoying. So we'll play it into like the 6-yard box or whatever, and it, like, he would have been able to smash it away, but he's still like marking his own
Back in
goal
the
line.
centre circle.
Yeah.
So
it's, I don't know, it's annoying. I feel like it's, if you look back to how we had been performing, like I said, back to the kind of the peaks of January and stuff, it's sort of like that's what we should be looking to emulate, and not just like kind of making stuff up again. Because I don't think the squad's in a bad enough position that we need to be kind of experimenting. I think it's just a case of getting over the line.
The last person I want to ask you about, I think I would know Adam's answer to this, so I'll come to him second. But would you give George Grant a start here? Because Devlin obviously started against Motherwell and was brought off at half-time for Grant, and there was a lot of thought at the time that Grant deserved his start. Obviously, a lot of people pointed at the Hamilton game with the adage that it was Hamilton, but prior to that, he'd been coming off the bench and making an impact. Is this a game that you feel Grant could do well at home? Again, it isn't an important must-win game, but would you trust him in that situation?
I'd trust him. I'd trust him in the sense of if Devlin wasn't available, I think the likelihood of him having 2 bad games in a row is quite unlikely.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like he'll be one that can kind of give himself that pep talk that needs to get him playing better. And I think if you look even back to like Hamilton in the cup and stuff, like he created that goal out of just like sheer kind of little kind of Tasmanian devil energy and stuff.
Devlin-ness kind of thing.
Running through walls to get that. So I think you've got to think nobody covered himself in glory in the Motherwell game, so it'd be hard to kind of pinpoint him as being a particular weak link. So yeah, no, I think if he's fit, he starts really. But yeah, maybe harsh on Grant, but at the same time, I think we kind of know that he's not a starter every week, and yeah, there'll be games where he can start, but I don't think this is one of them that he needs to.
Adam, you've often said in the last couple of weeks that you'd quite like the idea of a 3 in the middle, and then it also in turn allows Shanklin to kind of be that focal point. Would you do it here? Again, that does ask the question, who would you have on the left? Because in that you would have a 3 of Snodgrass, Devlin and Grant, Ginnelly on the right, Shanklin through the middle, and you would have to fill that left-hand side. But would you stick with what we've been doing with the 2 with Devlin and Snodgrass?
Well, it's funny because I was thinking as Richard was chatting there, if he goes with the same 3-5-2 that he did against Motherwell, which would be mental, he could go Shanklin and Ginnelly up front and have Grant supporting those 2. I don't think he's gonna, but knowing Robbie, I mean, he loves a tinker and he loves dicking about with stuff that doesn't need dicked about with.
So Grant in like a 10 with Devlin and Snodgrass behind him.
Yeah. I feel like that could be an option for him. Not saying that he would do that. Obviously, I've bored Richard to tears, and that's why he's off. But
yeah, Richard's
off. Oh, here he comes.
Yeah, right. Fuck all the chat.
Dogs here. Yeah, screw here. You, George Grant.
Right. Are we getting a chat with him?
What's his name, Richard?
He's called Larry. I just had to make sure my phone number was switched around on his tag. Yeah, he's called Larry. He's not comfortable here, so I'll move him back next door. But I could hear him at the door. So,
that's fair enough. See, this is why you watch on YouTube. You get pug footage, and this is the highlight of the entire podcast.
Yeah. Anyway.
See, this is why you need to be watching on YouTube, because you get to see Larry, which is way better than listening to Grant potentially being in the 10.
100%. It's not even a debate.
No, exactly. Richard, would you like to have Grant in the 10?
What does Larry think?
And Devlin behind?
Is Larry a George Grant fan, or what's his thoughts?
He watches Wimbledon quite a lot.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's not really watching Hearts. Like, I mean, I tried to put him through the Motherwell game, and I think he just fell asleep the other week.
Yeah.
I'm bored of this question. Move on.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect segue, because I want to move on to the score predictions, and then we have a different quiz. So, Richard, can I get a score prediction for this weekend?
Is it at home? Sorry, I wasn't.
Yes, it's at home.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Also, Phillips was missing the game. I wrote that down in a bullet point, if that's useful. I don't know what position he plays,
He
but I
is.
knew he got a red card.
He is,
And his
that's-
appeal failed.
suspended.
Very true.
Nice.
And they haven't even appealed it. They've just went,
I thought
no.
they had, or did they say they weren't?
Yeah, they were just like, we know. Well, Davidson said it in the weirdest way possible. He went, I think we'd win it if we did because we should win it, but we're not going to appeal it. It's like, okay.
I think it is a red.
It's definitely a red. He studs the guy. Is it?
Yeah.
No, not Pitt. Is it Flynn that he hits?
Yeah, Ryan Flynn. That's right.
Yeah, it just like nearly snaps his ankle, and then you got people being like, don't know if it was a red. Like, but yeah, do you know where Phillips plays in the pit?
Centre mid. Yeah, he's one of the sitters.
Who-
So I don't know. Is Gowser back fit?
That's what I was just about to ask. Will that mean it would be Devlin versus Ryan McGowan?
Potentially. I mean, we saw that the last time at Tynecastle, didn't we? So yeah,
And
that could
McGowan
be
Neil
a
got
case.
sent off after breaking Kai's foot. Oh yeah, that is a point. And then at McDermott Park, McGowan got booked within 6 minutes. Because again, he was just playing in the centre of the park trying.
Did Gowser concede the penalty that day?
Yeah, the handball, was it not? Was it a
Right, saying
handball?
that?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was, aye.
Yeah.
Christ, yeah. Well, so in game 1, he broke Kai's foot. In game 2, he gave away a penalty. What's he going to do this time?
Tell you what, I thought he was Agent Gowser, but maybe
No.
not.
Apparently not. But yes, Richard, what is your score prediction for the weekend?
2-0, I don't know.
I'll take that.
To Hearts, maybe.
I was about to say, I wouldn't take it the other way around, but yeah, I'll take it 2-0.
I know, but I do want a reaction. So I could do with like a heavy pumping, but at the same time, like let's be realistic. It's kind of small steps, I think.
Yeah, that's very fair. Adam, are you
also?
going
I should say it's. I've got another bullet point. I've got another one for you, Adam, later, but I'll reveal it later. It's the 8-year anniversary of putting 10 past Curd and Beef today, I think.
Is it?
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
because I was hungover at a Placebo concert that day.
Nice.
And then I've also written, I don't know why I think this came up on like Shuffle earlier on. I've written, I genuinely don't think Nickelback are as bad as they get credit for, or they don't get credit for.
I agree with this. I agree with this statement. Well done. You're a brave man for saying it, because not many people support, but I don't understand why they get so much hate.
They're a bit,
Yeah, I've not written any
of a
like
one-hit wonder, are they not?
But
No, I like how there's no justification. You just put it as a point, and then we're like, that's important.
yeah, I mean, I was thinking of stuff that actually no, I'll go through the thing that I wrote for you, Adam. Actually, just while we're
Oh
we're
God, I dread predicting what this is.
Yesterday, so Swindon Town put a tweet out saying, "Are you an aspiring media professional looking to get into the football industry?" And then you said, "A league club looking to take advantage of somebody's time and equipment without paying them is pretty poor, if you ask me." So I wrote, "A lower league podcast looking to take advantage of somebody's time without paying them is pretty poor, if you ask me."
It's fair. It's very fair. It's very fair.
Do you think this is as high as lower league? This is non-league. Let's just be honest.
Wow.
Well,
Wow. I mean, if we're saying it, it's bad and bad enough. Like, that's bad. But
Take it as a
listen, you get
compliment.
publicity. You get publicity, so that's the same, isn't it? Same as payment.
And you have been gagging on coming back on here, Richard. Let's be honest.
I mean, I was sort of joking a wee bit, but like, I was also, I mean, the phone had stopped ringing.
And we're all that's left, so you take what you can get.
I was on one about like something. I had this question for like Andy Webster, and like somebody got in touch. They were like, "Can you talk about Andy Webster?" So I wrote this wee thing about it, and then Andy Webster didn't even agree to be on the podcast. So I just like I'd written, and then they dealt with, and then they used the whole Andy Webster story as like the story. So they basically read what I'd said, and then they moved on to the next topic. I'm like, you asked me because you were like, Andy Webster's going to be on this. What do you think about him? So I kind of tried to make it balanced, like a parents' evening report. And I was like, should have tried a bit harder in the early days, but he got round, blah, blah, blah. Not that bad, bit of a snake, but it's fine. Not as bad as Stephen Presley.
Yep.
And then they kind of read that out, and it's like, that was it. So I'm like, oh.
Right.
So I mean, maybe they got in touch with him, and maybe he's like, yeah, so what's the question? And they're like, oh, well, this guy got in touch. And he was like, oh, is that the guy that had done that Harry Potter tweet? And he's like, not interested, not going to do it. So,
We've got higher standards than that. Is that going to make it into the set? Is that going to be in the show? The Harry Potter, just showing that? Just be like, look, I did that. What was the part of it getting nicked? Didn't it get stolen by like a lot of people?
It did. To be honest, that wasn't the worst one. Like the worst one was. I mean, it was pretty like a lot of folk had posted it, and I was like pretty naive in the whole going viral bit or whatever at that point. So I was like, "Oh, give me credit! Like I'm a young suffering comedian." When I did like 2 open mic gigs at that point, and but there was the other one about the view at Parkhead when I said like there was a big pillar, and I said, "Do you think the view from the away end's bad? Like the referees haven't been able to see any fouls for Celtic over the last 10 years or 20 years." And then I found like a Reddit forum of like 50 comments of people being like, comedian Richard Cobb. I'm like, I don't even think it said comedian on like on the post or anything. And then folk have just been like going through, like giving their opinion on me. Some guy went, like somebody like it says what team you support. So it came up. There's like this Hearts fan, and he went, "Oh well, I went to college with him in 2010. He was a k then and a k now." I'm like, "You're a Hearts fan? I was like, how like." I mean, obviously it was because I wrote. Basically, I did like music college, and I wrote a song about the guy called "Facebook to Your Mum" because he told somebody in class that he'd Facebooked their mum once. So then I wrote a song and got the rest of the folk in the class to sort of sing backing vocals to it. So I could see why he maybe doesn't remember warmly our time in college together.
Pure fond memories.
But like, get over it. Kev drinks Corona. You know what I mean? Like,
it's been a long time. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, that was. I'm glad that we basically just used this as therapy. This would be a nice twist.
I think that's the best answer we've ever had to score prediction.
Yeah,
ever.
true. Very true. That's the best score prediction answer we've ever had. Right, actually, on that, we're going to the quiz.
Whoa, are we not giving our predictions?
Oh, I forgot.
is this near the end? Are we nearly finished now?
Yeah. Well, the quiz is going to take a long time. The quiz is going to take a lot of time because we've got to change.
I actually think Richard's spot on with 2-0, so I'll go 3-0 to differ.
Okay.
Or the hat trick.
Yeah, exactly. Put all your money on it. Right. If you listen to this regularly, as Richard does, because he's so aware of the quiz, that you will know normally we have one multiple choice question.
Don't sugarcoat this. He literally asked, you guys do a quiz now. That's the level of support that we have from our guests.
Look at him laughing.
It's a scumbag.
There's a lot of podcasts get released every day. There's a lot of podcasts out there. Like the one about the OC, see when that finishes in probably a couple of months. And then once I've finished all, I quit like Kevin. And then when I've gone back to Case File. And then when I finish Some Laugh, I might maybe listen to this one that I've done.
Yeah.
And then if it's good, then I'll maybe go back and bookmark the rest of them. So how long has this quiz been going?
Right. This quiz has been going since the start of this season.
Okay.
So like 30 episodes or something?
I get sent a quiz every single day by London Hearts. I've got this London Hearts WhatsApp group. And every single day, like no offense if any London Hearts fans listen to this, but like every single day,
wow. There we go.
A Kahoot quiz.
Oh, we could do with some of that.
Kahoot quiz number 939, and it comes through every single day, and that's why I've muted it and not gone to any London Hearts meetups since the European days. Although I did message in the other day and said, does anybody want to come at my gig on Thursday? And I didn't hear back from anyone.
Shambles. Absolute shambles. So, we normally have a multiple choice question, a true or false question, 2 normal questions, and then a who am I, Richard, which is I give clues and you have to guess who the player is, and they're within our lifetime.
Sorry, Richard, see when we've been sharing these who am I's on our social media, have you not questioned that at all?
He doesn't follow us.
No, he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
We're absolutely made.
Oh, was that part of this?
Yeah.
I just thought you were trying to get content.
I mean, we're just multi-platform here. Right.
You should put it on Instagram Live. I can present it.
That would be a great laugh, considering you don't even know what it is.
Joe, I actually imagine Richard trying to get into the Instagram and just sitting there trying to hack it, guessing every single password under the sun.
I thought you just meant the platform, like he's trying to get into Instagram, not specifically.
No, his Instagram's good.
There's a plug. He doesn't seem impressed. He doesn't seem impressed at all. But because normally, and as Richard pointed out, how can it be a quiz when it's just with one person? Normally, just I ask a question, Adam will answer. Because it's both of yous, with the 4 questions, I will come to each of you individually. But then with the Who Am I, again, to explain it to you, Richard, you get 2 questions normally to ask about the player. You'll each get 2 questions, but one after the other, so you can use each other's answers to help. And Adam, before this episode, asked if you two could be a team. I said no. You're competing with each other because I want to see if either of you can get it quicker than Laurie Dunsire got it halfway through the clues, and Craig Fowler got it as soon as I said all the clues without asking any questions. So, question number 1. At this stage last season, how many points separated Hearts and St Johnstone? You've got 4 options. Is it A, 18, B, 20, C, 22, or D, 24?
I'm aware for continuity. My ring light is a different colour to what it was earlier.
It's okay. Don't worry.
We really don't care.
They were really bad last season, weren't they? But they're not borderline really 22. Was that 22?
So, right. Richard's guess is C22. Adam, are you going with the same or are you mixing it up?
I'll mix it up. I'll go. You say 20 on that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go 20.
You're both incorrect. It was 24, as St Johnstone were bottom of the league with 19 points. So they were doing very badly.
We both
Adam,
definitely knew that.
I'll come to you first. Who was the last player to score the winning goal for Hearts against St Johnstone?
Barry Mackay.
Richard, are you going with Barry Mackay or are you going with someone else?
I mean, it's a weird way of doing it because I could just copy that and not lose any points.
I know, we don't have any other way of doing this because we've never had another guest on at the same time.
I'm going to say Barry Mackay.
Correct. It's Barry Mackay. It's 1 each. Right. I've immediately realised there's a problem with this one because it's a true or false. So one of you are getting a point here unless you know it. And
I'll inevitably get it wrong and Richard will get it right.
Right. In all competitions, Richard Cobb fan favourite Ben Woodburn has scored more goals for Preston than he did for Hearts. Richard, I'm coming to you first.
I checked this the other day. That is up to this point of the season.
Yeah, so up to this point of the season, has Ben Woodburn scored more goals for Preston than he did for Hearts?
Oh,
yes. True.
I'm going false.
Richard takes the lead. It is true.
Is it 5? Is it 5?
Yes. Yes.
Has he scored 5 goals this season?
Yep.
He's not.
Mate. Smashing it.
Oh my God.
Right.
That league is jobbies, isn't it?
Richard takes the lead 2-1.
Well, just finding the fact that I Googled this a couple of weeks ago and there's no questions asked about
You've done your research. That's your guy.
I just assume you're in constant checking of Ben Woodburn and his life daily.
You're as Ben Woodburn obsessed as anyone I've ever met.
Actually, I'm going to call you out for something here because I saw a tweet that you made about Garan Kuyol where you were quite mocking of Ben Woodburn's ability and quality for Hearts after spending a year loving him. What's that about?
I know, but I'm surprised that I thought that was fly under the radar.
No.
But no, I think it was a thing with the expectation of you sort of think if you come from a Premier League club, then you're suddenly gonna like be amazing.
I did see this.
Be like a Paul McCallum type figure, and yeah, or a Demi Mitchell maybe. What's happened to him?
Yeah.
Now he's playing under Gary Caldwell at Exeter. What a career!
Brilliant.
Wow. Great. So Richard takes the lead 2-1. Last question before we get to the Who Am I? Adam, we'll go to you first. In the last 10 years, how many times have Hearts faced Celtic in the Scottish Cup? Including this season. So including the draw that we've just had, how many times have we faced?
Jesus.
So one is this one that's upcoming.
Right, so one's this one. We've played them in 2 finals and lost recently. In the last 10 years. So
are we talking like the season 2012, 2013?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask.
From the 2012-13 season.
From BT's penalty That doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
After that.
Yeah, it's the season after.
I want to say, I'm going to say either 4 or 5 because we definitely played them under Robbie. Scottish Cup.
Yeah, Scottish Cup, not League Cup, just Scottish Cup.
I can think of Morgaro Gomez getting sent off against Celtic and they battered us in the cup, I think. Oh, God. Did we not go out both cups to Celtic that season?
I don't know.
Oh, Jesus. I'm going to stick with 4, but I feel like that might be too low.
Richard?
I'm going to say 5, but I think it is 4. But I'll say 5 just as a...
The answer
Give you a
is
chance.
5. Richard takes it 3-1. Smashing it.
When were the times, McIver?
Oh, I didn't care. I didn't make note of that. One of them was we got beat 7-0.
Oh, we'd forgive you for thinking you're hosting this thing.
Yeah, but I'm not doing it. I know that was 13,
what
14.
chance have you got?
13-14 when it was like the admin season and we just had the kids. We got beat 7-0.
Under Robbie, both finals, and now this season.
And now this season. Yeah. So
that's annoying. I've conveniently forgot the 7-0. That's great.
Yeah. I don't know which one Gomez got sent off in, but I think Gomez did get sent off in one of the games.
I want to say we lost 4-0.
We did lose 4-0 when I checked.
There you go.
Did we play? Was it the League Cup when we played them at Murrayfield in the semis?
Yes, under Levine.
Yes, aye. When Naismith's knee blew up. Yeah, and that was the end. That was the end of that.
And did we not play Celtic in the League Cup under Robbie and Osmond Sow missed a penalty at Parkhead? Or am I making that up?
I have no idea.
I feel like we played them in both cups that season that we got promoted, but I don't know if that's right.
I'm not sure. I remember Osmond Sow missing a penalty at Parkhead. I just can't remember if it was.
I think that was League Cup
or in the league.
Can't remember.
I'm not sure. Anyway, Richard is now 3-1 up, going into the Who Am I? So I'll give you all the clues. So he's won. Yeah.
Well done.
Well done, Richard.
Congrats.
You've won. Smashed it.
Again, didn't know a quiz was a thing. So I mean, well, I'm sure you probably won some in the past, Adam. So well done. I mean, if there's only one contestant, then
Adam has routinely went 0 for 5 in these quizzes.
I genuinely have. McIver asks you questions that aren't even related to Hearts. He asks you fucking about Odeon films and all this other nonsense.
That's needless attacks on me and my hosting abilities. So,
before we get to that, I've just remembered your background when I tried to get you put on the screen at Tynecastle. And
yes, you did.
I said, like, this is
McIver.
Yeah. I put I've photoshopped like a photo of my book on your bookcase and then a Ben Woodburn poster. And I said, this is his first game or something like that. And yeah.
Wasn't it the Ben Woodburn photo with the Champions League trophy?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was. So, we're going to have to make a change to the Who Am I, as I said. I'm going to run through all the clues. If either of you know it just from the clues, say it. But then you each get a question each. I'll go, one is ask one question, let you have a guess, back and forward, and then we just see if either of you can get it. So, my time at Hearts was filled with controversy, both in the way that I arrived at the club and during a specific game. I've played in Latvia, Russia, Lithuania, and Scotland. Hearts were my last club before I chose to retire, and I have 26 caps for my country, and I captained it once. Who am I? They're stunned into silence.
Jesus.
So, Adam, I'll go to you for the first question because you know what to do with the questions, and then Richard can do whatever he wants.
I'm going to ask McIver, what position did they play?
That's a good question. I need to get this person's Wikipedia up in case you ask for...
Jesus, wait, how many times have you done this, man?
What I mean is in case you ask for clubs, in case you ask such as position, it was... I'll give it... Well, this is interesting. Wikipedia describes him as a defensive midfielder / right back / left winger.
What?
So this is a laugh.
Is a left winger is like political stance?
No. I'm going to go with no. Right. So do you have any idea at this point?
Can you repeat the...
Yeah, give us the clues again.
Yes, of course I can.
Mumbling.
My time at Hearts was filled with controversy, both in the way I arrived at the club and during one specific game. I have played in Latvia, Russia, Lithuania, and Scotland. Hearts were my last club before I chose to retire. I have 26 caps for my country, captaining them once.
Jesus.
So, Richard, you have 2 questions that you can ask anything about. Adam, you have 1.
I know my next question. I'm just waiting on Richard.
Controversy in one game, did you say?
Yes. So my time at Hearts was filled with controversy, both in the way I arrived at the club and during one specific game.
Are they Lithuanian?
They
don't ask that.
are.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Right. You've each got a question left. Adam, you said you knew what your question was, so I'm going to
Well, mine was going to be the nationality. So,
okay.
I'm surprised that Richard went so specific, but it's actually worked out nicely. So, a Lithuanian that was a right back, no, a defensive mid, a right back, and a left winger.
Yeah. I can safely say I'll give you this. I can safely say for us, he never played at left wing. He strictly played as a defensive.
I can't remember any Lithuanian defensive midfielders at all. I don't remember any of the Lithuanians bar Česnauskas, Mikalunas, and Jankauskas.
Right. Richard thinks he knows. So Richard still has another question. Adam still has another question. Adam, I'll come. Do you? Because this is the thing, Richard. I forgot to tell you this. You only get one guess. If you get it wrong, you're out. So
do I just
right,
set
try
this
and
up
act like
for
you care
Richard?
slightly. Sorry?
Do I just set this up for Richard to come in and steal the thunder?
It depends what your questions is.
I was going to be very specific and ask, can I have their initials?
Oh, yeah, you can if that's the question that you want. The initials are NB.
I know who it is, Nereus Barrasso.
Correct.
Yeah, it is. Yes,
he's got
nice.
it. He's got it. I can't give it to Adam, even though he's nodding saying yes.
No, that was. I knew that he'd come in and nick that. I couldn't think of Barassa's first name. No idea what it was.
Do you know why I knew that? Because I went to the Player of the Year Awards in 2006 at the Sheraton, and like all the team were there, and folk were going along collecting the name tags, and I was too slow, so the only one they had left was Nereus Barrasso. I sort of took that. And that's who I was thinking of, because I remember he had something like he walked along the main stand and didn't clap the home fans or something, so folk got annoyed about it.
So was that on that
was probably his last game, maybe.
So on the controversy thing, there's most of his Wikipedia about his time at Hearts is about this.
I have no idea what his first name was, so it's a good thing that Richard was here. Otherwise, we could have been here till 9:30.
What are the chances of that the one player I picked for you got the name badge, basically? So the controversy in which he arrived at the club, he was one of those players that Romanoff used to sign for his surrogate teams. So he signed for FBK Kaunas and just immediately got sent on loan to us to get around the red tape of signing for Hearts.
No money laundering going on there whatsoever.
None at all. And then the controversy in a game is that against Rangers, we got beat, and him and Miko got booed as they were walking round the pitch because they didn't.
That after Miko had dived for Scotland? No.
So
against Scotland, rather.
I don't know if it was because when did that game happen? October 06. When was the Scotland-Lithuania game? Richard, would you know that?
Yeah, it was at Euro 2006
or 07 season anyway.
Yeah.
Because he basically got hounded out by Richard Gordon, the big racist.
That's right.
Yes, exactly. So Miko and Barassa are walking round the touchline. They're getting booed and they don't acknowledge the fans at all, which makes the fans get more annoyed. Then our current sporting director at the time, Alex Kozlowski, said that the Hearts fans were being xenophobic to Miko and Barassa, whereas then fan groups came out and said, no, we were booing them because they were shit. To which Kozlowski then retracted his statement, apologised, and then subsequently stepped down.
I was about to say, I've never heard of that geezer in my life. So
No, I've never heard of him either. So that's it. But not only did Richard know who it was, he knew the specific game that I was talking about in regards to controversy.
I would have guessed it was. I think because I think I had a season ticket that season, so it was
Right.
like I think in the main stand. So I remember him coming around. Yeah,
what was your second question going to be, Richard, out of interest?
didn't need one. No, because I think I knew who it was. It was either him or who was the small guy. Who was the wee guy who was quite good. He scored a couple of goals. He was almost like the John Cahoon type.
Oh, God, there's a question.
Did it begin with a K? I was saying it had a K in it, but if he was Lithuanian,
Was it like Ivaskevicius or something like that?
No.
I can find the squad for
I
you.
can't remember. I can barely remember any of the Lithuanians because most of them were rank.
He was one of the few that wasn't absolute dog shit, basically.
So it says that the only forwards we had at that time were Bednar, Elliott, Jankowskis, Yo Michaela, Mickey Pospisil, and Poranidson. And then midfielders.
Who?
No idea. He's Icelandic.
That bloke in my life.
Yeah, there's a guy called Ludek Strakny. This got two Ks in it. He was a number 10. It might be him.
Navicius, that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Chesney was good. I like Chesney.
Sorry, what?
No, did you say Kisnavicius?
I said Kisnavicius.
Oh,
yeah.
I think I read Chesney and went, yep, I like Chesney. Yes.
Michelainis was good.
Yeah, he was quite good. So it technically finished 4-1 to Richard.
And Big Zal, I forgot to mention Big Zal. I love Big Zal. Rest in peace.
Yep, just shout out to Salyukas.
No, I was talking about the Lithuanians. Like, most of them were dogs.
Oh, right. I
Zalyukas
genuinely
class.
was like, where's that come from? I was so confused, but I see what you mean.
Got to pay homage.
Sorry, right, I see what you mean. So yes, Richard, very successful in your...
Yeah, well done, man.
You
Good work.
mocked the quiz, but you did very well in it.
Was that a fact? Because I didn't know. I mean, obviously, 'cause I haven't heard it before. Like, I didn't know if I was allowed to sort of jump in.
Oh, no, you're allowed to do whatever you want.
At one point, I did let my dog in, then I went into the balcony. So, my manners have quite literally gone out the window.
Right, well, if you have enjoyed this...
By the way, but anyway.
Right, okay, cool, great. Fair play to you if you've enjoyed this. It's been, again, a journey. We see on Twitter, inexplicably, these are our most popular episodes.
You get
God knows why.
Literally tens of listeners.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, it's up 3 single digits. So
come
we'll
on,
take it.
No need to get so personal.
Sorry.
Well, if you have enjoyed it, make sure that you end up going to Richard's show at the Fringe this August. Once again, Richard, please plug everything that you can do so people know where to go. Do.
Not with the offence that he's just caused. There's no need for that. We've given him this platform and he's using it and abusing it.
If I know any photographers that want to get work experience for taking photos for the festival, let me know.
Are they expected to bring their own cameras and get there their own way? Yeah.
You're not going to make the French program deadline, so I've already sent that in, but it might be in next year, and you'll get a free ticket. It's free anyway, but anyway.
Yeah, but still. Right, what's your Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of patter?
At the Richard Cobb.
Smashed it. Well, we're at Perth to Paisley on everything.
I've got a link tree on the thing as well, and that'll have tickets. It might have a link.
Professional.
What's this one going to be called? This episode?
What do you want it to be called?
Don't eat 4 sausages 8 minutes before the recording starts.
We'll call it 4 sausages.
4 sausages.
4 sausages, yep, that's right. Well, now that explains the title. Only true people who have listened to the very end of this will understand that, otherwise there's no context. So, you'd see at the very end. We're at Perth Paisley and everything. Adam, where can they get you on social media?
They can find me boycotting the Fringe on all my socials at Adam T. Kendall. What about yourself, mate?
I'm at
you also pick the who scored every week as well.
True. Very true. Which is a disgrace. Didn't somebody get a 10 this week?
Eamon Brophy. 2 goals, 2 assists for Ross County. Bagsman.
Give him that. We'll be back next week without Richard, and it'll be more normal and less people will listen. So, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.